What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Money Down Pod. You are listening live. That is my guy, Sean White. You can follow him at Dumpster Fire Fan, myself at Kayvon_sports. Welcome to really sports heaven time where we've got everything going on. In a couple weeks, we will literally have all four major sports going on at the same time. As you can see, Sean's got his new Oilers shirt there as he has become the big Oilers fan. So we'll see what happens with them this season as hockey gets rolling. And as we are really in the heart of football, man, I cannot believe we're entering week 7 of college football and week 6 of the NFL. It hurts my heart that we are already this far into football because it just means that we're getting closer and closer to being over. But let's not dwell on that. Look, Sean, really today is all about college. I mean, there's so many big college games this weekend. But before we go into college, because next week we're going to be talking all about the NFL and the Chiefs and the Bills and what happened this weekend. Before we go into our college talk, let's just have a quick conversation here about the roughing the passer that is really just kind of taken over the NFL this week and really some of last week too. As a Falcons fan, I was one that was clearly affected by the roughing the passer call. As a lot of people saw today, Brady's getting fined for kicking Grady Jarrett, but guess what? He didn't get an unsportsmanlike penalty then, did he? What happened on Sunday and then what happened on Monday with Chris Jones are two of the worst calls I've ever seen in football. I really believe it's up there with the Saints and the Rams call with the pass interference a couple years ago. I believe it's that bad. I think that how else can Grady Jarrett tackle Tom Brady? That type of tackle right there is the tackle that the NFL should be sending out to teams saying, this is how you throw a quarterback down. Tom Brady's head didn't get hit. He wrapped him up. Not only did he immediately get off of him, Brady kicked him on the way off too. I'm not saying the Falcons would have gone down and scored, but what I am saying is they scored on back-to-back possessions before that. They were clearly the team with the momentum at the time. And it's two teams, Sean, in a division where they're both 2-2, and it's a divisional battle. And the Falcons got robbed of an opportunity to at least go down and win that game. Who knows if they would have, but they got robbed of the opportunity. The Chiefs won the game. While it's a terrible call, at least the Chiefs won the game. The Falcons didn't win the game, and the week before that, when they missed the same ref missed the call on the Ravens Bills game, and the Bills ended up winning that game as well. So the Falcons absolutely got robbed. If you go back and watch, the Tampa Bay had the same exact tackle on Mariota earlier in the game, exact same tackle. They didn't call it. This isn't even me just saying this is Tom Brady. This is me just saying this is completely unfair, man. It is so unfair. The NFL, like they always do, they're overreacting. They're overreacting.
Yeah, completely agree. It's an overreaction. I mean, the fact that Teddy Bridgewater couldn't even come back in the game the other day, when in reality he was probably fine to do, and now he's not
Yeah.
even playing this week, which is almost outrageous. Just
It's
the NFL is kind of treading these waters right there because they had that big concussion issue before, and now they're just overreacting to it a little bit. We see this with the NFL; it happens from time to time. It's going to have to calm down. I think it will calm down over the course of the season. But man, that was about the maddest I've seen you over text message after that game.
I was so
It was
mad.
kind of crazy because I was already pissed myself after watching the Jags play, and I was like stewing and could barely get words out, just kind of formulating thoughts. And all of a sudden, I saw that play, and immediately I was like, "Man, Kayvon's going through it
I
worse
felt the
than
same way then.
me." Because at least I'm just mad about how the team played. I didn't get robbed of a potential go ahead score or game time score either way. The way that play happened, there's nothing else Grady Jarrett could have done. He
No,
rolled over on his own body and then
ex-
like laid him down. He didn't
exactly.
sling him after that or anything. He didn't lay his body on top of him. It was a perfectly formed tackle. It was just crazy. And then on top of that, it had to be Brady. That was
Yeah.
just that's what made a lot of people react even worse is that it was Brady to start with because
Yeah.
Brady already does get some of these calls going his way. The NFL's got to dial this back, though. I don't see them doing it in the next 2 weeks, but I think over the course of the season, I don't see that affecting a playoff game. Do you? I think they're going to make sure, just like how the catch rule all of a sudden didn't apply in the
Yeah.
even Patriots Super Bowl because they were going to change it. I don't think we're going to see a roughing the passer affect a Super Bowl like that. But right now, they're just calling it super tight and trying to err on the side of safety, which I think is kind of it's kind of too far. But I understand where they're going from. The Chris Jones play, that was a horrible call too.
That was terrible.
It didn't affect the game like the Grady Jarrett play though. But Chris Jones is going to try to recover a fumble.
He had the
He's
ball.
off once the ball is loose. Once the ball's loose, usually you can knock people around, man. If it's an interception, you see people just destroy the quarterback on blocks at that point. It's kind of strange. I don't like how it's going. I don't think anyone you ask is going to be a fan of that happening, even if it's for your team. I just don't like that whole aspect of it. I see where the NFL is coming from. They've got to dial it back some, man, because it's really losing some integrity in the sport right here.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, there's just no other way to put it. Like like you said, I couldn't get words out for like 2 days, man. I was so upset. And I didn't have expectations for us to win the game anyways, but the fact that we got into that position and didn't get a shot, and also there was the same drive, and when it was 3rd and 4, they called a holding penalty that was clearly not a hold as well. And I understand people want to say they should have called the pass interference on Scotty Miller too, and they could have done that, but you can't cross out that roughing the passer, because even though the Scotty Miller catch, he would have been out of bounds. And the announcer said that on the broadcast too. But anyways, I'm over it now, man. It's just, this is what the NFL does. They overcorrect for the mistakes they've had, but they're getting to a point now where they can't even tackle. I mean, dude, Grady Jarrett was lost for words, and he was defeated. He was literally defeated because he said after the game, how do I play my position? Like, how can I play my position anymore if I can't do that? And I felt for Grady Jarrett, and I felt for Arthur Smith, and I felt for that entire Falcons team, because they absolutely got robbed, and it's so messed up. At least the Chiefs won, but there's no other way to put it. We can end the conversation on that, but the NFL's got to get it straight. And I agree with you. They will end up getting it straight. This is just what the NFL does. Let's move on to college here, because this weekend's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be one of the best college weekends out there. I mean, we have some of the best ranked on ranked matchups now that we are in October. It's been 15 years since we can look at an Alabama-Tennessee matchup and legitimately say, does Tennessee have a shot to win it? And supposedly a lot of people around think they do, because not only the public is just hammering Tennessee, which I can't remember the last time I've saw where the public is betting against Alabama. Sean, I fully believe Bryce Young's going to play. What are your thoughts on that? And what are your thoughts on Tennessee having a shot?
Yeah, Tennessee is one of these schools that I've roasted for years. I got to give them props, man. They're turning
They
it
have
around.
something special.
And I've been making the prediction before that with Heupel now, I thought that it would be like Nico's first or second year when he got there, that they'd beat Bama. They got a shot this year, man.
They do.
They have a legit shot, the best shot they've had in the last 15. And I can't think of a Tennessee team that's more equipped to beat a Bama team.
Same.
Because the way you beat Bama is phenomenal athletic quarterback play.
Yep.
That's how you beat them. You outscore them, and you put that defense to the test. And the way Hendon Hooker's playing right now, he can play with anybody out there, man. They've got a shot against Bama, even with Bryce playing. And I think Bryce is going to be a little slowed down with that shoulder, but he is going to play, which is big for Bama, because I think they outright lose without Bryce back there.
Yeah, no doubt.
I don't trust the backup at all. I don't trust what I saw with that. I think Tennessee has a well-balanced team. I think that offense can score on anyone. And I think Bama's going to be tested in this matchup for the first time in a while. This is how the Texas A&M's upset Bama with Johnny Manziel.
Yeah.
Hell, we saw Haynes King have his best. I mean, we saw their quarterback last year have his best game in relief that they had, just out of his mind playing. We saw Haynes King last week test this Bama defense, and that was his best game he's had. So I'm telling you, Hendon Hooker's got a shot to put it to Bama. You just have to get over that Tennessee inner choke job that they've had for years. Because that's one thing that scares me about Tennessee. You see it with Texas, you see it with Florida, Tennessee, USC. They don't really rise to the moment. I think this is that time if you want to prove that you've turned the corner and really get that win under Josh Heupel to show that you're turning the corner and being your blue blood program again, you've got to win this game right here. Turn the corner and rise to the moment. That's what I want to see from Tennessee. I actually think they get it done.
I do so, and I like that you brought up Johnny Manziel, because just like for Johnny Manziel, this is Hendon Hooker's Heisman moment. This is it, man. If he goes now, Chris Stroud's playing CJ Stroud's playing so well. But he hasn't played anyone yet. If Hendon Hooker can outduel Bryce Young and win this game, he will become the front runner for the Heisman. I fully believe that, just because it's Alabama, and Alabama's gettable this year, man. They've got issues in the secondary. They've got issues all across. Their offensive line isn't as dominant as it usually is. Now, they've got some guys on the D line and Will Anderson that could wreck things for Hendon Hooker and that Tennessee O line. Tennessee's defense is still an issue. I do believe it's going to be a high-scoring game. And I do believe it's going to be one of those games where whoever gets the ball last could win it. I think Tennessee has a shot, man. I really, really do. I think that they could win this as well. I think, Sean, that there's a couple of underdogs that can win this weekend, including moving to Penn State against Michigan. Look, I've said this for a while now. I think it's absurd that a program like Michigan has played the schedule they've had. It makes me angry. It really makes me angry that they've played that type of schedule, and they are a school like Michigan. That should never be allowed. And we are now seeing, when they play terrible teams, but a little bit better than Hawaii and Colorado State, they struggled against Indiana out of the gates. They struggled against Maryland. Maryland could have won that game. Penn State is a veteran team. Sean Clifford, even though I do not like him, he will not be phased going into the Big House, because not only has he played in the Big House before, he actually has won in the Big House. He won 2 years ago when they went there. He's played in these big-time games. I like Penn State +7. I think Penn State can win this game outright. I don't know if they will, but I do think that they are going to give Michigan all they can handle tomorrow.
Yeah, I like Penn State +7. I like Michigan to win, though. I just don't buy Clifford being able to pull this off. And I think JJ McCarthy is actually going to play pretty well, which is going to be the key here, because I don't know if they're going to be able to run it the whole time like they
No,
have.
they won't.
So that's one of the big keys. I also think they're going to have to throw away from Joey Porter Jr., because Porter Jr. is a baller out there.
He's awesome.
Penn State just has that weakness at quarterback, man. I just can't get over it. It's almost how Georgia was last year with Bennett, but Georgia's just at such a higher level talent-wise than other people that it really didn't matter. I just think that Michigan's going to be able to match talent for talent with Penn State. It's going to be a slugfest, low-scoring game. I'm not sure the over/under on this one, but I'd lean toward it's 50. I'd lean toward the under on that.
Same.
I really don't think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I think Clifford's probably going to turn it over a few times, but I can see JJ actually going off with his legs in this game and being an athlete on this part, really extending plays. I do like Michigan to win this one. I think it's close. I do think Michigan's slightly overrated, though. Played a horrible schedule. I just don't buy Penn State being the one to knock them off. I kind of think Ohio State might bloodbath them later in the year, but I just don't buy Penn State knocking them off. It's going to be a close game, though. That +7's perfect.
Yeah, and look, JJ hasn't played very well the last couple games either, so he's definitely going to have to play well. Clifford is by far the big circle in this game. It's going to be totally up to Clifford, and I'm like you. I don't have a lot of faith in him. I really correlate this game with the UCLA game last week, and what I mean by that is we always talk Chip Kelly. Oh, he's doing good things with UCLA, but can he finally get over the hump and get that big win? I feel that way with James Franklin. James Franklin has had some big wins, but it always feels like they start the season hot, and then they get to Michigan or they get to Ohio State or even Michigan State at times and they lose. This needs to be James Franklin's moment where he finally goes in and wins this game against an undefeated Michigan. I want to see James Franklin do it. I've always thought James Franklin is a little bit overrated, and I want to see him do it this year. I don't know if he's going to be able to. I'm with you, but I do love Penn State +7. Let's get into this conversation here before we get into USC and Utah, because it kind of goes into this. And you're gonna like this conversation. So, as a Falcons fan, and stick with me here, this is gonna make sense. I'm very happy right now with how the Falcons are playing, because at the beginning of the season, I thought that the Falcons had no shot at being good this year. We'd be getting a top 5 pick, and it would be good to go, and we'd be getting a quarterback. With the way the Falcons are playing, and we might easily drop off, but with the way other teams are playing and with the way we've been 5-0 against spread, competitive every game. I don't think we're going to land a top pick this year. I don't think we're going to get a top quarterback. I think we're going to be more towards the bottom of the 10, top 10, 11 type range, 8, 7, that type of thing. And I'm very happy about that because right now, as I watch college football, Sean, there are 3 quarterbacks that have my eye and 3 quarterbacks that I think are the best quarterbacks in football right now. And all of them are in next year's draft. It's
Okay.
It's
You almost
DJU.
confirmed it. I was gonna guess it. I was gonna guess them. I know 2 for sure.
Yeah, it's DJU, it's Caleb Williams, and it's Quinn Ewers, even though I still want to see more from Quinn because I still have this part about Quinn that just bothers me, but I can't deny what he's doing. And the number 1 guy on that list right now is Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams, to me, is the best player of college football, best quarterback in college football. I am obsessed with what that guy is doing. DJU is ranked number 1 by PFF in big-time throws this year. He's coming up in clutch moments. He's playing extremely well. He has taken a massive step from last year. And Quinn Ewers, like you texted me the other day, is making Mahomes-like throws, and he's putting Texas on the map. So I wanted to bring that up because I want you to talk about Ewers in Texas real quick. And I also want to tie this into what Caleb Williams and USC is doing. I think Caleb Williams is just incredible, man. But do you believe that because of what Quinn Ewers is now brings to Texas, that they're live to maybe make a playoff run?
Quick on DJU before I do that.
Yeah.
DJU's insane if he keeps playing like this, if he doesn't come out.
Oh, he has to.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean this year?
Yeah.
I don't know if he will come out this year.
He has to. If he plays like this still, he's
I agree. I think he should, especially because they have the backup there. But I don't know. There just feels like he won't. But you're right. He needs to.
Yeah, because if that's the case, that would make y'all live in that spot. Because I still think Bryce and CJ will go over him. Because
I would love to get DJ.
But that would be perfect if you're a Falcons fan. In my opinion,
I would love that.
Would be perfect. Because I don't want to turn this into a CJ Stroud conversation, but I think CJ is super overrated.
Yeah, that's been your.
And that's been confirmed even more. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. is just
incredible, man. He's incredible.
Ridiculous. But okay, let me get into that conversation.
Yeah.
I think Texas is live right now, especially if they continue winning in the Big 12, because the Big 12 has some teams, man.
It's good. It's good.
You got Oklahoma State. TCU. I think they're live because that Bama loss, you can chalk that up to Ewers getting hurt right there. The way
and they will. The playoff committee will be
possible, and they'd love to have Texas in there. The Longhorn fans, let's not act like the brand wouldn't have anything to do with that either. But I think they're definitely live for a playoff berth. The way their offense has been playing, Sark's kind of got his guy to make these throws, to make everything run. And now Bijan Robinson doesn't have to carry that team.
And he's good.
Because Quinn Ewers I've got to give him credit. I was a little concerned with mechanically, and I still am because his mechanics getting a little shoddy. But if you look at it, man, he might be 3rd on the planet or 4th. Let me give Herbert some credit. He might be 4th on the planet in arm talent and arm strength because that dude's ridiculous. He flicks the ball just anywhere he wants it to go for like 50, 60 yards. It doesn't matter the platform. It doesn't matter the angle. And that's exactly what got Mahomes drafted out of Texas Tech.
Yes.
So you're now going to see that with a recruit of his level in a Sark offense for a year and a half. Completely buy what you're saying about Ewers. And I think he's going to be on top of a lot of the GM boards that love the talent and want to go with the arm talent comp, especially if you're an offensive coach. Let me tell you why Caleb Williams is probably going to go number 1, though.
I want him so bad, Sean. I want him like you wanted Trevor. I'm not kidding.
Caleb Williams is going to go 1 in that draft because not only is his intangibles as pure as you can get, and like Trevor Lawrence was, that's why one of the big reasons with the leadership and intangibles, his arm talent is very solid, just that step below those guys that I mentioned. That's just on an insane level, like you can't even comprehend. The mobility is there, but also he's with Lincoln Riley. And you know what's going to happen? The only thing that could possibly ding him is that Baker Mayfield and Kyler's been underperforming. But you know what? He has that Jalen Hurts intangibles about him. So that's going to pick him back up. Lincoln Riley's had all these dudes drafted, number 1 overall, and now Jalen Hurts looking like a top tier quarterback in the NFL. It's going to get Caleb drafted just on his talent and intangibles alone. That 1-2 punch of him and Ewers. And I thought you were going to mention Drake May because I think Drake May is actually very solid for USC.
Yeah, Drake May's up there too. Up there.
But those two are going to go 1-2 in that draft, in my opinion, and it's going to make people happy. I know we do this a lot every year as a scouting community and as NFL draft nerds, where you just look ahead to the next potential class, like a lot of people were doing with CJ and Bryce compared to this last class. This is nowhere near that. CJ and Bryce are still good prospects. These two are just much better prospects, whereas last year's class just wasn't good. We saw it with Trevor ever since his freshman year. You looked ahead with him and Justin Fields, and no matter what they're doing in the NFL, that's what you do. You look ahead like that. Ewers and Caleb Williams are going to be 1-2 in that draft. It's going to be a fun battle to watch them for the next year and a half ascend, because the way Caleb Williams is playing, USC actually has a chance to make the playoffs now because they might beat Utah this week, and I actually think they will.
Ooh. Wow. So this is the thing though, because it's funny that you mentioned the draft. This time last year, we were all talking about this year's draft, but as we've been 7 weeks in, man, as someone that needs a quarterback, I'm sitting here and I'm looking like this. I love Bryce Young. That guy is so accurate in the pocket, on the run, but his injury issue, he worries me like Tua, man. He's small. He gets injured a lot. That worries me. See everything you said about CJ Stroud and just in general, Ohio State quarterbacks.
Justin Fields isn't doing CJ Stroud any favors.
No, it's the Ohio State quarterback, man, and that's a bigger conversation for another day when we talk about recruiting and like if you're a recruit out there, man, and if CJ Stroud ends up coming and being bad, and Justin Fields continues to be bad, even though it's hard to judge him, but still, like you got to be a recruit looking like, do I really want to go down this stigma route of the offense that they play and all this stuff? It's just it's a question for another day. But anyways, CJ Stroud, all the things you've said about him, valid. Bryce Young, injury prone. Will Levis, to me, I don't understand why Mel Kiper loves him. And I respect Mel Kiper, so part of me wants to be like, screw it. I'm just going to believe whatever, because this guy was on Josh Allen. Mel Kiper is one of the, if not the best in the business, and he is obsessed with Will Levis. I don't get why. I do not understand why at all. This is my question to you. And this is why I got so confused about DJ. Why is nobody put? I didn't even think DJ could come out this year because he's not on anybody's draft board, dude. I don't see him anywhere. Do you? I didn't see him on a single draft
I don't
board.
either. I think they're just holding last year against him so hard, but that's so strange to me,
It's
man.
weird.
The O line was horrible last year, and the weapons were horrible too. And I understand you're supposed to elevate that if you're on the offense, you're supposed to elevate. But that's what he's doing this year. Like
Exactly.
sometimes you just lose confidence in yourself. And I mean, I'm the biggest Trevor Lawrence guy out there. Well, one of them. There's plenty of people. He struggles. He has his ups and downs. Man, he struggled last year. That's what it is to be an NFL quarterback. But if you're talking about tools and arm strength and size and everything like that, DJ's came in shape. He's running the ball pretty well for his size too, and he's got the arm. I don't understand why he's not getting looked at. I would certainly take him over Will Levis. I understand SEC competition, but I'm telling you, I'm not touching Will Levis. He's not a natural thrower, in my
I
opinion.
can't touch
Where
him.
DJ's a more natural thrower with the release and everything, which he's actually shortened up a little bit. It was very long last year.
Yeah.
He shortened it up a little bit too. I haven't seen Will Levis do that at all over his 3 years. It's still the same. I don't know. It's kind of splitting hairs here, but I really don't understand that either. And if I was you as a Falcons fan, if you were going to take a quarterback this year, that's who I'd take. But honestly, the way y'all are kind of playing, y'all kind of just need to just roll with Desmond next year and see what you have, and then maybe try to get one of those dudes if you keep playing like that. A lot of season to go, but y'all are what 5-0 against the spread,
it's
and I'm
crazy.
taking y'all this week +10 against the Rams. Rams should be favored over anybody +10. I know that's going down a rabbit hole, but that's where you're at. The Falcons are actually looking pretty good. I'm with you though. Those quarterbacks the next year definitely better this year.
It's going to be a tankathon for those quarterbacks. I mean, like what we're seeing in the NBA. And it's I was hard on Arthur Smith, but what he's showing me again, this is different. He's a good coach. He knows how to run the damn football. And people are pissed about, Kyle Pitts not getting the ball. And I feel bad, but I don't think it's going to change because I think Arthur Smith has his thing. And he is just going to keep running the football until we get a quarterback in there that can feed it. And maybe we'll see Desmond Ridder later because I don't know. Well, Mariota's doing enough, but anyways, that's a different conversation. But I am all in, Sean, on Caleb Williams. I am all in on him, and I'm super excited to keep watching Quinn Ewers. But I love Caleb Williams, which takes us into tomorrow night in Utah, Salt Lake City. You already mentioned it. You think USC is going to go in there and win? I'm worried, Sean. I want USC to win, but I think that this is a really bad matchup for them. The one thing they have going for them is Caleb Williams. And by the way, Travis Dye has been one of the best running backs in college too, by the way, from Oregon, who's now with USC. But I just think that Utah matches up really well. And I thought that last week with UCLA too, and UCLA did something. But now that they're coming off that loss, they're at home. It worries me, man. It just feels like a bad spot for USC.
Yeah, see, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. We ain't doing
I
this
get it.
again. So I thought Utah had the matchup against Florida and UCLA now.
Yep.
Utah is struggling at some stuff that they usually
Are they the most disappointing team this year?
Oh, easily.
Yeah,
Easily.
I think so too.
They were picked to go to the playoff. I thought they
Yep.
would at least.
Same.
Easily. Their offense can't run the ball that well, but
Yep.
more importantly, their defense can't stop a dual threat, and Caleb Williams is probably the best one they're going to play.
Great
I
point.
mean, Caleb Williams is a completely different level than Anthony Richardson and Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So I don't want to hear anything about Utah. Maybe Utah comes in and the home crowd feeds them because they do have a good home field. But I think USC actually might have these dudes this time, man. I'm telling you.
I hope.
And I'm not a big buyer in USC usually. I think
Yeah.
they've kind of struggled this year in some spots they shouldn't have struggled in. I think that when you watch Utah play, that weakness is just too big of a weakness, that dual
Good
threat
point.
weakness. And I thought they would look at the film on that Anthony Richardson stuff
Yeah.
and be able to solve that against UCLA. They couldn't, and I don't see them being able to solve Caleb Williams in a week and fixing that. I think it's an unfixable problem for them. I think they're going to lose 3 this year. I think they're going to lose this one.
I mean, DTR cooked them.
Yeah.
He cooked them.
You can't be getting cooked by DTR. I mean, good God, he's getting his PhD in college football right now. What is it, his 8th year? Like
his 8th year, dude. He's been there forever. And he cooked them, dude. It's incredible. It is insane what's happening. So let's look at this big picture then, man, because this is the time of year where we can really start to look at the playoff field. All right. If you look at it, you alluded to the Big 12. I mean, man, you have TCU and Oklahoma State. One of those teams are going to go into next week undefeated. Texas is on the come up. They play Oklahoma State next week, by the way. You've got the Pac-12 who has both UCLA and USC undefeated, plus an Oregon team that is throttling everybody. And their first loss, while it was really bad, it was the week 1. And we know how much the committee loves losing early and not worrying against. So even though that loss was so bad, maybe that stays with them. But anyways, Oregon's playing so good, it's another mark for a team like UCLA and USC if they beat them. ACC, you've got Clemson, pretty much the only one left there that has the hopes of taking, their UNC's playing well and all that stuff, but Clemson's really the only one that's going to be able to come out of that. And then you have the SEC, and you have Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia. There's a lot of teams. Ole Miss is still undefeated. As you look at all these teams, do you feel like maybe we could actually get a couple teams from different conferences this time instead of 2 SEC teams? Or would you still right now pick it to be 2 SEC teams?
Yeah, that's a tough one, man, because I think the Big 12 is getting one in.
I do too, man. I do too.
And if Clemson goes undefeated, they're in.
They're in.
One of these Big Ten schools, that's the one you got to worry about, in my opinion. If somehow Michigan and Ohio State both get a loss, can you put one of them in?
I don't think you can.
I don't think you can either.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy to think about.
That's a good point. I don't think you could.
Because the way Michigan's playing, they might end up just choking one away.
I think
and
so.
the way Ohio State's playing, they might end up losing one too. And I really just don't think you can put them in based on that. I don't think, especially if you have an undefeated Clemson team and a Big 12 team that's just super solid. I mean, think about this. What if Oklahoma State or TCU runs the table, only loses to Texas, and Texas wins out? What do you do there?
Dude, they're in trouble there. That's big.
Imagine one of these Pac-12 schools stays undefeated. The worst thing that can happen for the Pac-12 is whoever loses the USC-UCLA game to then beat the other one in the Pac-12 championship.
Yes.
That's what can happen if you're a Pac-12 fan. And Clemson obviously can't drop one. Do you agree that if Clemson drops one, no one from the ACC is getting it?
They're out. If Clemson loses, and some people think they're going to lose tomorrow night, by the way, to Florida State. I don't see it. I think they're going to destroy Florida State, but a lot of people think that this is the spot. They're out. I don't care how they cannot drop one. And I don't think they're going to. I think Clemson's going to make it. I think Clemson, they're getting healthier. They're getting Brian Bresee back. They're getting some secondary help back. The ACC is the one conference that can't afford a loss. But you're right, man. If Texas wins out, beats an undefeated TCU, beats an undefeated Oklahoma State, how do you not put them in? If Oklahoma State wins out, or even just has one loss to Texas, if USC wins out, you have to put them in. Like, you kind of have a good point about the Big Ten.
Yeah, here's the other thing too, and this is I love hypotheticals like this because once the playoff ranking comes out, that's when we can really start debating this because we'll be doing shows like we did last year about stuff like that. But get this one: imagine if Bama loses right here to Tennessee or Georgia, and that Big 12 situation happens. That's tough to put Bama in over Texas because you know they were going to lose that game if he was there. Like that's tough, and no 2-loss Bama teams getting in over.
No way at all, not a chance.
Yeah, so like that's where the SEC rub is going to come if Tennessee beats Bama this week, because I think Tennessee could slip up at any point too. That's the other thing.
Dude, they still have to play Georgia,
and Georgia. I mean,
I think they
good? Like,
I don't know. They don't play. They haven't played anyone. I think Georgia could lose, man.
Yeah, Georgia could lose too. The SEC's kind of going to knock each other off. And I just don't know if this is the year to get 2 one-loss SEC teams in, unless a lot of these other teams just start taking random losses. Which at this point, I don't know if that's going to happen because, dude, I actually like Oklahoma State and TCU's team and makeup.
I do too.
I know Dan from the other show is big on TCU.
He loves them.
TCU played Kansas close, and a bunch of people was like, "Yeah, Kansas almost beat them." Dude, this Kansas team's nice too.
Dude, they're awesome.
So I don't know. It's kind of funny because like Oklahoma's the worst Big 12 school.
They're so bad.
Yo, let's team in the Big 12 right now.
Let's actually hit on that real quick before we get out of here, dude. You brought this up over text, and I actually think you should bring it up because it's a very interesting take. I'm of the assumption that Brent Venables, he's an OU guy. They kind of are smart with how they go about things there. I don't think they usually get influenced by the boosters. I think they're going to give Venables some time. But this is terrible. I mean, this is about as bad as it could possibly look because not only is it bad, it's worse because he's a defensive coach and they're getting throttled. You didn't score a point against Texas. You think that this could be one and done?
I think it's possible. I mean, I'm not putting it at like 90% or anything, but I think 60-40, like something like there.
Wow.
Because here's the thing. I know you said that their athletic director is a patient guy.
He usually is.
The boosters at bay a little bit.
Yeah.
Here's the thing you got to worry about. You're going to the SEC, and it's not like Oklahoma's name and brand is going to like carry that much weight anymore. That's not a thing. Lane has Ole Miss rolling at this point. Like Tennessee is coming back with hype. I mean, you've got schools like that. It doesn't really matter.
Mississippi State.
Yeah, I mean, good God, Leach, what he does out there, that's crazy. It doesn't really matter about the name as much. And Oklahoma, to be a glamour brand, it's one of the lesser like hype brands like that, in my opinion.
It is.
It's massive in Oklahoma, and it's a blue blood of college. But Lincoln had that thing rolling recruiting because he had the offense and everything going. This is a defense thing that I thought would transfer to the SEC well. But the offenses in the SEC now are rolling. It's Tennessee rolling. Yeah. Bama's more of an offensive team, in my opinion, now.
Same. Ole
Miss and Leach has Mississippi State. Really, the issue that A&M has is they have all the recruits. Their offense is out there.
Spot on.
So this is where I think that Venables could be one and done. This is the reason why right here. You have Urban and Matt Rule out there. It's both of them. And I know Oklahoma might not want to go after Urban. That's okay. I understand. But you're going to let Matt Rule go? Because for as much shit as we talk about him as an NFL coach, the dude can damn sure coach in college.
And he did it in the Big 12. He's already done it in the Big 12.
Yeah. The man can flat out coach in college, and he's going to have his pick of these jobs. Urban still has a little bit of the baggage, so he doesn't really have to pick as much.
Yep.
But I think both of them could get jobs the all season. And if you're Oklahoma and you're the AD and you have all these boosters on your back, do you really want to lose out on Matt Rule and Urban to like Arizona State, Nebraska, or Auburn or something like that? Because the next year's candidate group, you say, okay, well, I'm Oklahoma, I'll get who we want. Who's leaving for that?
No.
Outside of maybe Lane at Ole Miss, who is leaving for that? And that would be a home run hit that you would have to do. And I don't even know if Lane would want to leave.
I think he likes Ole Miss.
Exactly. So who are you getting? There's not going to be a guy like.
It's a great point.
And you're going to give Sark another year with Quinn Ewers to dominate you, and then he's going to bring Arch Manning in. That's what you want to do.
Yeah.
I just don't see Oklahoma sitting there and doing that. I think the fan base is going to get crazy about it. I'm telling you. I don't see a way where they don't at least try after Rule. Dude, because they're going to lose another game or two. I'm telling you.
Oh, they're going to lose a couple games.
It's going to be the worst Oklahoma season that maybe we've ever seen.
It might be.
So I just don't see the patience there with the two candidates out there because you're not going to get someone else after this. You're not. There's not a guy. You're going to be hiring the next Venables. At least you have a proven Matt Rule and proven Urban if you want to do it that way. And that's just how I see it. That's why I'm 60-40 on it. I know you don't believe it as hard on that, but that's where I'm at on it.
Well, listen, I mean, I think you lay out some great points. And by the way, I hate to do this, Oklahoma fans, but they're probably sitting there watching USC, man, and Lincoln Riley, and they're watching what's happening here.
All the players.
Yeah, I mean, they're just devastated. And that's why that point right there is why I was like, I just don't see him doing it because he literally lost everyone. He lost so many players, so many recruits. But with that being said, you can't lose 49-0 to your arch rival in Texas. They're 9-point favorites this week against Kansas. Kansas backup QB looked damn good against TCU. If they lose that game, Sean, I mean, your 60-40 is right. If they lose as 9-point favorites to Kansas this week at home, with the backup,
if Daniels was playing, they'd beat them.
Yeah, I think so too.
Kansas would beat them if that was.
I think so too. I think that is a very interesting point that we have to watch moving forward. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here?
No, I think we're good. That was a good show about college right there because this weekend's going to be big time. I can't wait for it. And we got some nice matchups in the NFL that we're going to get back around to talking about after this weekend.
Yeah.
I had a down week. Kayvon had a heartbreaking call. We're going to be back there out there on the betting streets with the NFL.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get a better Thursday night game next week. That was pretty bad. But
yeah, we got to talk about that next week too, man. With the money that Amazon's paying. They went like 10 quarters without a touchdown or whatever. That's rough, dude. And you know that I think we have Arizona and the Saints next week, or we have someone next week.
But hopefully the Saints actually have Jameis back for that.
Right. There's a lot of issues going on there. But no, next week's going to be a lot of NFL talk, man. Chiefs, Bills, will your Jags bounce back? Can the Falcons do anything this week? There's
better than Mac Jones.
Yeah, dude, I love that, and I like Zappy coming out. You remember when we did our quarterbacks, bro?
Oh, yeah.
And I said Zappy needs to be in our rankings. Now he hasn't done much, but I actually like how Zappy plays. And then we got Eagles Cowboys that we're gonna have to talk about too, because that's if Cooper Rush goes into Philly. Yeah, there's a lot of question marks that can get some fan bases riled up there. So we'll dive into it all. That's my guy Sean White. You can follow him on Twitter at DumpsterFireFan. Myself at Kayvon_sports. Follow the show at Money Down Pod. We'll be next week to break down everything that went on in the sports world. We'll talk to you then.